Welcome, welcome, welcome. Everyone take a breath in. Are we ready to deep dive? You want a little bit more of the unknown? You got that taste in your mouth saying, ooh, I like making the unknown known. It tastes so good. You ready for part 2? I'm ready. Are you ready, Marcus?
No, I'm definitely ready. After grounding outside in nature, sitting by the waterfall. How are you today, Sandee?
I am glorious. I am simply glorious. Excited to be back on here. I gave my throat a rest. I've got some lemon and ginger and honey and little cloves for my throat, my living water, and I'm ready to go.
Living water. That's right. Living water. Speaking of living water, coming up tomorrow, live at noon, Eastern Time, I'll be doing a Shungite Water 101 demonstration for everybody. And I'll be going step by step, showing everybody that will be tuning in, tapping in, whether it's going to be live or later on, how to create your own at-home Shungite water system. So I really look forward to doing that for you guys, and allowing you guys to be able to have that awareness and experience, as it can really be life-changing in many ways. And I'll tell you more about it tomorrow. And I caught a little bit of time outside today before the live for about maybe like a half hour, 45 minutes. And I went down to one of my favorite nearby parks. It's a nature park. It's called Sharon Woods. And got beautiful waterfalls, really good forestry out there. And I sat out there and I sat up on top of a waterfall in this little back area. And I pulled a couple of cards for myself. And then I also brought with me the Tibetan Book of the Dead. I'm not sure if anybody's familiar with this book, but this is basically like the Tibetan Buddhist monks' Bible, so to say. You know, you got the Egyptian Book of the Dead for the Egyptians. This is for the Tibetans. Then you have other beautiful spiritual texts as well. So before we begin our raw material, I just wanted to read a paragraph out of this that Spirit guided me to when I was outside earlier. And it fits in so perfectly, of course, with what we've been talking about in these spaces. So I'm just going to go ahead and read this paragraph real quick. And I'm sure there'll be plenty to digest from it. But it begins with, so when you hear that you are in the great perfection, recognize this statement as essentially initiatory, as placing you in the context of your goal and highest imaginable possibility, opening for you the task of critically removing all the impediments to your experience of your own reality. And when you feel discouraged, realize you have been overeager. Don't let yourself go in cynical self-pity and then disidentify from the hardcore self that wanted enlightenment yesterday, or it's not worth working for. And when you hear the great word of the great perfection in the between, when you are detached from your heavy encasement in a habit embodied or habit encoded body, you can break free of impediments much more immediately, more naturally. So the encouragement that your goal is the clear light within can be crucial in helping you to let go and not hide in self-indulgence, not to dodge and doubt. Remember, in that critical moment, hesitation and self-seeking can be worse than feral. They can lead to lifetimes spent in uncomfortable embodiments and unpleasant environments. I'm going to go ahead and read that one more time, just to make sure everything comes through clear. So, I'll turn this music down a little bit. So it begins. So when you hear that you are in the great perfection, recognize this statement as essentially initiatory, as placing you in the context of your goal and highest imaginable possibility, opening for you the task of critically removing all the impediments to your experience of your own reality. And when you feel discouraged, realize you have been overeager. Don't let yourself go in cynical self-pity and then disidentify from the hardcore self that wanted enlightenment yesterday. Or it's not worth working for again. And when you hear the great word of the great perfection in between, when you are detached from your heavy encasement in a habit-encoded body, you could break free of impediments much more immediately, more naturally. So the encouragement that your goal is the clear light within can be crucial in helping you to let go and not hide in self-indulgence, not to dodge and doubt. Remember, in that critical moment, hesitation and self-seeking can be worse than fatal. They can lead to lifetimes with a S, spent in uncomfortable embodiments in unpleasant environments. Tibetan Book of the Dead.
Wow.
Liberation through understanding in the between.
In the between, definitely. And I was led to read the final statement that was made in the Divine Design. Okay, are you guys ready? We diving deep today. Okay, as you know, the Divine channeled through Lori Ladd. As you know, she didn't plan when she went on vacation. She hadn't planned on writing a book, let alone it being channeled. But nonetheless, she was called. She answered the call, and she listened to her spirit guides through the divine, channeled to her this book. Okay, in the final statements, the guide says, or the divine tells me, "So saith I," is what the divine tells me as I'm reading it. As we begin to close this book and share our final thoughts, we want to remind you that you are moving through an evolutionary shift in human consciousness. In a linear time-space dimensional field and within the quantum field, Earth and all her are involving individuals and collectivities, right? Regardless of the programs, the paradigms, the emotions, the behaviors, the thoughts, the beliefs, and the trauma you are currently experiencing in your 3D dimension or dimensional field, there are other dimensional fields occurring now on the Earth plane. Earth plane is Earth consciousness's body. Just as you have a body and I have a body, Earth consciousness has a body. It says on the Earth plane that you will anchor into. We've come here to shift, to evolve, and to anchor. Whether we anchor in the dimension of consciousness through a different lens, or whether we physically anchor in a new Earth, we've come here to shift. We've come here to grow. We've come here to make the unknown known. And then once we've conquered that unknown and made it known, we're supposed to dive again and shift again and evolve again. And it's all play, right? Your reality is shifting and will continue to shift. There's never a point where we stop. Even if you believe you are unaware, you've never felt it before, you are shifting. Unbeknownst to you, you are evolving. The divine goes on to say, Do not buy into the belief that the world is falling deeper into chaos. Remember what we've told you. Earth has anchored a new reality, a new world. Earth is in a 5D field and is waiting for humanity to meet her there. At the time this book was channeled, Earth had already shifted into 5D, had already anchored, and was already waiting for us. Remember, nothing that is occurring on the earth in this moment, both within you and around you, is an accident. This is how an entire human collective evolves into higher states of consciousness. The divine wants you to mind when you label yourself a collective. Dive into what it really means for you. And then after you give the definition for you, dive into it again and ask the divine, what is the definition for wholeness? You are all currently experiencing and watching the trauma or densities of the human collective be pulled out of the darkness and into the light. Why? You were born with light quotient in you. You were born to shine. You were born to seek wisdom and understanding. It's not a tree that you were not meant to take part of, and then you became sinful when you did. You were born with the wisdom and the understanding already in you. From your root to your crown, you are anchoring. Keep anchoring. Keep seeking the wisdom. Keep seeking the understanding. Keep evolving. Keep shining the light. Just like you own trauma, the human collective trauma must be seen, felt, and shifted into higher frequencies. For the most part, we've told to bury our feelings, bury our emotions. Don't bother figuring them out. You've got spirituality now, just kind of jump over it. Spiritually kind of skip stairs. But you're supposed to feel what you feel. You're supposed to feel what you feel so that you can seek something different than what you feel if it's not for your highest and greatest good. That's how you get to opt out of the story when it's time for you to move out of one play area into another. The way you move through this is by seeing the trauma, feeling the trauma, and then choosing who you want to be right now in that trauma. How you want to grow, how you want to expand, where you want to go. Hold on. Your choice and your sovereignty are your superpowers. You were born a sovereign spiritual being in human form, seeking to shift, to grow, to expand, to evolve, and then do it all over again, continuously. You always have a choice. It is all choice, layered with patience, compassion, surrender, trust, and a deep knowing that all is well in your now. You are surrounded by higher dimensional beings. You are never alone. They may tell you you're alone, but you're never alone. You are continuously anchoring the next highest version of you in your form. It's nice to be conscious of it, but hey, you're anchoring even if you're not conscious of it. You are remembering your multi-dimensionality, and you are courageously showing up for yourself and humanity, putting one foot in front of the other. Let them know that they are cherished. Ashe. You are cherished. The divine says, I move in, through, and as you. You can do nothing wrong. But polarity was given to you so you can make choices. So that you could have contrast in your life and you could paint a picture. Or you could write your screenplay. I write my screenplay and call it Sandee M on a playground, on Earth Playground. And Earth Playground is constantly changing, constantly evolving. Here we are. Are we ready to deep dive into the unknown? Are we ready to get part 2? Talk a little bit more about how Ra explains Jesus consciousness. Ready?
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. We left off where the questioner had asked, what density is the entity known as Jesus in now? I wouldn't have never thought to ask that question as an embodied question. Right? Ra says, I am Ra. This information is harmless, though unimportant. That's what Ra's going to tell you what Ra feels. This entity studies now the lessons of the wisdom vibration. This entity is the 5th density, also called the light vibration. At the time that this book was written, that's what density Jesus was. Vibrational. Whoa. And divine tells me right now that Jesus has come back a number of times, but he did not choose to use the name Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Every time my higher being comes back, it comes back as a version of Sandee. In a different place, in a different time, in a different galaxy, but a version. A version that my soul has shared with me, but has reminded me I can't go live there. It shares it for wisdom and understanding so I can have my now moment and enjoy my form life here. And we're thinking that Jesus is coming back. He's going to be Jesus again. And he's going to look like Jesus used to look, you know, with the beard and the robe. And no. He, she, it, they are expanding and growing and anchoring in different densities, pouring in wisdom and understanding into many books, scoring music. Once upon a time, moving in, through, and as Marcus. Oh, yeah. That's the vibration that Marcus has gotten. Marcus doesn't even know half of why he's calling himself Christolight. All of us are sons and daughters of God. But we're expanding and exploring ourselves to be more than that, because the divine is seeking itself to be more. You go, well, the divine is already all of that in a bag of chips. No, it wants to be 2 bags of chips. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe a couple of billion bags of chips.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So here comes Ra. Here comes Ra. Trying it again after 15,000 of what we call our years. It says, I'm going to honor your free will. I'm not going to step on your soil. I'm going to honor the men and women that don't want to believe me. I'm going to honor their free will, but I'm going to contact you. And here we are talking about Jesus, the Christ. Right? So the questioner says, in our culture, there is a saying that he will return. Can you tell me if this is planned? Oh, okay. Here we go. Ra says, I am Ra. I will attempt to sort out this question. It is difficult. This entity became aware that it was not an entity of itself, but operated as a messenger of the one creator, whom this entity saw as love.
Mm.
So this was an aspect. He came as an aspect of the divine creator, of wholeness. And the aspect he came was the love portion.
Mm.
All that he did from the time of his birth to the time of his death was love. Whoa. Showing humanity at that point, at that time, in that arena, that the things that he's doing, they could do too. He wasn't coming to them as a supernatural God, but our perception was our perception back then. So Ra says, this entity was aware that this cycle was in its last portion and spoke to the effects that those of its consciousness would return at the harvest. Those that shared the same consciousness would come back to do harvest.
Mm.
Right? It's when you're ready to anchor in to a new consciousness, there would be someone that would spread the word, be there at that right time, at that right point, to say the things that are the catalysts that move you into your next shift and your next expansion. Would it be called Jesus, the Christ? Maybe not. Maybe another version of the divine. That's one version. And then you've got the divine has Marcus and me and you and everybody else, different versions showing up at the right time for harvest. Let's keep going. The particular mind, body, spirit complex you call Jesus is, as what you would call an entity, not to return except as a member of the Confederation, speaking through a channel. So at this particular time, Ra is saying that he's going to be channeling. All of us would be able to talk to him. That Jesus would be able to speak through all of us. Holy shit.
Oh.
I'm just saying. Not only is Ra channeling, but at that particular time, speaking through a channel. Then he goes on to say, however, there are others of the identical congruency of consciousness that will welcome those to the fourth density. This is the meaning of the returning.
Mm.
The questioner asks, can you tell me why you say the earth will be fourth density positive instead of fourth density negative, since there seems to be much negative now? Do you want to hear what Ross says? I do.
Oh yeah.
He said that Christ, Jesus Christ, or Jesus the Christ, would be speaking through a channel. However, there are others of the identical congruency, others like Christ, that was going of the same consciousness that were going to be welcoming in fourth density at that time. Right? So right now, humanity is telling, or these people that represent humanity is asking Ra, well, we see negativity everywhere. So why are you saying that this is fourth density positivity? Ross says the earth seems to be negative. That is due to the quiet, shall we say. And then he says the word horror, which is the common distortion which those good or positive orientated entities have towards the occurrence which is in your time space present. All that means is that's how it's presented to you. That's how you see it. That's your perception. Ra is saying that's not ours. We're seeing more. Ra, at that point in time, was a sixth density collective being. Right? Holy shit. He says, you see, this is from your perspective. Right now, at this particular time that I'm talking to you, I think this is what, 1950s, 60s? I think about then it was Vietnam War, maybe, I think. I'm not quite sure. Right? He says, however, those orientated and harvestable in the ways to service to others greatly outnumber those who orientate towards service to self, as has become that of harvestable quality. There were more at that particular time that were doing service to self, knowing that everything, all their needs, and everything that they were doing for service to others was positively going to, they were doing the law of cause and effect. What they were putting out, they were harvesting. What Jesus put out in his form life, he harvested back. He didn't hold anybody responsible for his death. Matter of fact, he let the divine know that. He harvested for those who were going to walk in that perception of, if he can do it, so can I. Whoa. I'm just saying, Ra is at this point, when he was channeling to these human entities, he was a sixth density social complex. The whole planet had resonated and be anchored and became Ra. A whole planet. And now that scientists look at the planet, they look at it, they see it dead, but it's not dead. It's transformed. I'm just saying, blows my mind. Back to you, Marcus. Whoa. Whoa.
There was something in there
about Jesus channeling. Oh.
Yep, there it is. Jesus channeling. So this is interesting because I had literally gotten this download from Yeshua himself just a few days ago. And then it kept coming up in the last couple of days. And I was led to the Book of Mary, which is one of the books that was removed from the Bible. It's the Book of Mary Magdalene. And I shared it on my page for everybody out there. You guys can see the YouTube video that I listened to. It's audio. It's on my Instagram page, Facebook. You guys can check it out and scroll through there. So what I realized was I came into the awareness of what it is that you just spoke on, that Ra just told us. And what had came through to me was that when, Yeshua or Jesus is being described as rising from the dead to come alive again, he's in his astral form, he's in his higher body. And then when the disciples and Mary were able to communicate with him after he physically had died, in the book of Mary, it literally says out of Yeshua's own words that he channels through Mary, is that now that I am in this higher space, I have elevated your minds to be able to receive me through this space. And then it goes on and it talks about how Mary is literally channeling Yeshua through her after he physically dies. So then the book of Mary, or the Gospel of Mary, is literally Mary channeling Yeshua the whole entire time to the disciples. And wow, when that became clear inside my mind, I was like, this makes so much sense now. You know, it's not about physically dying and then physically being rebirthed as the same person. It's about he physically died and then he was able to be in a more free and more expansive form of himself to be able to do missions and other things on a more expansive level, more efficiently and more quantum-like. So he's able to be accessed by people around the world more quickly and more efficiently as a channel through us. And wow, when that came through, I was in the car and I started hooping and hollering. Man.
You froze for a second, so I didn't hear everything that you said. So other people might have, but you froze for a minute.
I was just saying,
all I'm going to say is that if there's some energy that might be in the room that doesn't want to hear it, but we're going to just 10845 that energy right on out, because we got to hear this.
10845.
So we got to hear it. Could you repeat that, the last couple of sentences?
Did you hear the part where I said that I came to the awareness that he was being channeled by Mary?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's why I came to the major realization is that Mary was channeling him and delivering messages through herself to the disciples. And that's what the Gospel of Mary is. You guys can listen for your own self and discern for yourself. But he makes it very clear in the things that he says in it of, you know, what's really going on. And when I came to that realization, it hit me, you know. I was just like, I was in the car and I was just hooping and hollering, grinning like a little child. Like, what?
Yeah. And then when you get the confirmation through other things, you kind of just going to go, yes, woo, okay, I got it. Okay. Because now I understand. As a kid, I was trying to understand. Here's what happens when I was a kid. There were certain parts of the Bible that they didn't push, like Jesus's body wasn't no longer in the tomb. So they hypothesized that his body was stolen, blah, blah, blah. And then I said to my Sunday school teacher, I think at that point it happened to be the pastor's wife. And of course, they called my mother and told her, you know, Sandee has a very vivid imagination. But I told her at that time, I said, what if nobody stole the body? What if he took his body with him? You know, that's a bunch of no, you know, it's like, we'll just leave it as the body was no longer in the tomb, and we'll leave it there. We're not going to hypothesize. I went, but no, he was so powerful. He was so vibratorily powerful. Couldn't he have taken his body with him? Can't we do that? Why do we have to spend so much? This is what I think got them. It's why do we have to spend so much money for a casket? We pay for a casket about how much we pay for a car. Can't we just take our bodies with us? I don't know. Maybe I was 13. It was like, isn't that what Jesus is about? He walked on the water. He became the water when he walked on the water. He became one with the water. I was a kid. I was just throwing these hypotheses out there. And my other hypothesis is he took his body with him. It transformed. It materialized. And of course, then they were saying, well, you watch too much sci-fi, because about that time, Star Trek had come into the original Star Trek.
Stargate.
Yeah. And you had Beam Me Up, Scotty, that whole kind of thing. Right. So I had a vivid imagination, and it was say to my mother, and you need to hush this your child because she's a distraction. But here we are. Ra is telling us or sharing with us, you don't have to believe anything. Take what resonates and leave what doesn't. But Ra said at that particular time, this entity known as Jesus was channeling. At that time, he hadn't come back as someone else yet, as the soul choosing another body to come in. He was just like us. He was a higher being choosing a foreign body to come in and live a form life with the divine moving in, through, and as Yeshua, just like us. Doesn't that just bring it right down to you? That you're if you're thinking that Jesus was royalty, you're royalty. Jesus could walk on. I'm not saying go out to the sea and walk on water. Unless you got some faith behind you, unless you know that you are an alchemist. Jesus had, I think it was, who was it? Was it Thomas that was walking, attempting, I don't think it was Thomas. I think it was, I think maybe it was, where Jesus held out his hand and told him to come walk with him. Mm-hmm. And for a while, he was walking with them until he looked down and said, what am I doing? And then he began to drown because he took his intent away from it. Not Jesus, not the water, his intent. So if you don't have a powerful intent, don't go trying to walk on water, trying to prove Sandee wrong. If you want to prove Sandee wrong, go start walking on water in your bathtub, so at least you'll be safe. Okay?
Fifi says Peter.
Pardon?
Fifi in the comments says Peter.
It's Peter. Okay. Yeah. I remember that much because I giggled at that because I told my Sunday school teacher at that time when we were studying that, that parable or whatnot. I said, they don't like me. It's like, he lost his concentration. But I didn't know then that the word was intention. Intention plus the energy that is imbued in you creates what you want to do. And if you want to walk on water, you have to be sure that that's what you want to do. And you have to hold that intention with your energy and you have to embody it. And that's what Jesus, the Christ, did. That's what this energy did. And guess what? He wasn't born and then just showed up 33 years later, all ready to do all of this. He went and studied. His father took him to study in various places with various people. It wasn't just the Jewish community. It wasn't just Israel. It was all across the world. He was learning his craft and his skills. And he was opening up his gifts just like us. So can you sit in that seat and vibrate? Vibrate? Are you vibrating yet? Are you feeling the oneness? Holy moly. Holy moly. I would love to have Peter there then walking on water. I don't think I would have looked down. I think I just would have just embraced everything around me. The mist around me, being my feet being the waves moving across the top. I don't even think I would have thought about anybody else looking at me. I think I just would have been in sheer heaven. I know I came from a water planet in a galaxy eons ago. Eons ago. Just to listen, just to hear it roar and speak. Oh, it's playing my tune. Back to you, Marcus.
Back to me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
You know, it makes so much sense. Like, just think about, you know, everybody out there. Think about a time that you were really feeling something like really well, and like you were really in tune with it, and you were really feeling it, and you were really one with it. Typically, when that's happening, you're not thinking. You know, you're not in your mind about it. You're just flowing with it emotionally, energetically. And then think about what happens as soon as you focus your ego on it. And you're just like, oh, wait, I'm doing that? Or wait, what's happening?
Yeah.
Next thing you know,
you can't be doing that.
It's gone. And it's like, whoa. How was I just doing
You're out of it, man. You're just out of it. Right?
And then it's like you're not able to access that again in that moment because you're back into your human mind, so to say. And you know, these examples, these parables, these stories, these, you know, examples of life walks that we go through and that we hear about, remember to try to relate it to the present moment, the present life that we're in, and see where you can kind of bridge or compare, you know, those type of moments to the current moments that we're in this current lifetime. And you can actually see like those exact things are still taking place now today, as in the mechanics, the fundamentals, the laws of the universe, the way that energy and vibration works. And it's never gone. You know, it's timeless, it's priceless. It is what it is. And the more that we remember that, and we dissolve that separation of time periods or the past, or ancient future, and all that stuff. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with, you know, identifying or using those as navigation points. But what I'm saying is like, if we can at least dissolve those separations of, oh, Jesus was doing this 2,000 years ago, therefore I can't do that now in this time period. When you dissolve that, you start to realize that it's all this energy. It's all quantum energy, and it can all be utilized in different mechanics, different techniques, and different functions in the same exact ways that we have since the beginning of humanity. And that's all Jesus, Yeshua, is trying to remind us of, is of that, and that it's always happening and it's always present, and we can always tap in and be one with it. But as long as in our conscious mind, as the conscious co-creator of this universe, we put these barriers up, these walls, these divided separations, then we will experience what it's like to be divided, to be separate. But the more we dissolve that, the more we come into wholeness and oneness of what we are, we can then start seeing and feeling and sensing that we are just energy and vibration with our surroundings as energy and vibration. And then the more clear and vibratory your being and your body is, then your electromagnetic field is able to connect with all around it vibrationally and basically bring it in as you. And then you become one with that vibrationally, and you're able to walk on it. You're able to move through it. When I say move through it, move through walls. There are beings that can move through walls. There are beings that can levitate. There are beings that can literally push fire out of their palms. There is a master out in Asia. There's many other masters out there too. When I say masters, masters of self, not masters of the world, that are able to literally push the elements out of their body and have it come out of them. There are people all over, everywhere in the world at this point, that are even posting reels and videos of them airbending, firebending, moving water with their hands. It's out there, guys. It's not that taboo. And the more that we clear ourselves, when I say clear ourselves, clear our centers, clear our electromagnetic field.
Like I was just doing.
To allow that spiritual current to come through us, we can guide to what it is that we have intentions for. And there's no right or wrong to it.
Oh.
Throat chakra opener.
Yeah. And at this point, I don't think it's mine, but that's okay. I'll receive it for someone else, and I take that energy and I give it to the divine for cleansing, for transformation and alchemization. And I would just say, Ashe, thank you, thank you. All right. Mm-hmm. So I got book 2 of the raw material. All right.
Are we starting?
No, this is,
okay.
This is one that, hold on a second. I'm sorry. You know what? People don't want us to energies don't want us to get through this, but we're going to get through it. Any energy that's in this room to distract, I surrender it to the divine, which is the divine of the no thing that all things come from. I just give it back to the divine, and I am thankful and grateful that it is cleansed, it is transmuted, it is alchemized, and it is, if the divine wants to send it back to the one that sent it, return to sender, let the divine do that. Thank you, and Ashe. Thank you.
Ashe.
Okay, this is what when we were doing part 1, this is what the divine had showed me. Because when you first get a book, you kind of thumb through it, but the divine literally stopped on this page. So the questioner says, I will ask you if you are familiar with a motion picture called the 9th configuration.
Wait, Ra just asked that?
Yes, Ra was asked this.
What?
Well, yeah. The questioner asked Ra, are you familiar with a movie called the 9th configuration? Are you familiar with this? Ra said, we scanned your mind and see this configuration called the 9th configuration. The questioner says, this motion picture brought out the point about which we have been talking. The colonel had made a decision. I was wondering about this polarization. He could have knuckled under, you might say, to the negative forces, but he chose to defend his friend instead. And then the questioner says, is it possible for you to estimate which is more positively polarizing, to defend the positivity-oriented entity or to allow suppression by the negatively oriented entities? So Ross says, I am wrong. This question takes in the scope of fourth density as well as your own, and its answer may be best seen by the actions of the entity called Yahshua, which you call Jesus. This entity was to be defended by his friends. The entity reminded its friends to put away the sword. To put away the sword. Why do you have to go fight? That's what the divine says. We're always talking about we got to fight the good fight of faith. Faith doesn't need a fight. We're spiritually in warfare. Well, do you know what you're going to get more of? You're going to get more doors that open warfare for you to fight. Jesus told his friends, put away the sword. This entity then delivered itself to be put to the physical death. He didn't run. He said, I've come to do what I've come to do. It's my time. I knew I came to do this. His higher being had woken up, had tapped into his DNA, into the light codes that told him why he came at that particular time and what he came to do, what he came to achieve, what he came to intend, what he came to feel, see, be. That entity called Yahshua said, don't fight for me. The divine says, Yahshua just wanted them to hold space for him. Ooh, such release, sweet release. That this entity was then delivered itself to be put to the physical death. The impulse to protect the loved other self is one which persists through the fourth density, a density abounding in compassion. More than this, we cannot and need not say. Right? So Ross said, there's nothing more to say. Lay down your sword. There's enough love in you to cover you, to protect you in a bubble. What's going to happen is going to happen. What's intended to happen is going to happen. What are you intending? You want to take up arms and fight the good fight of faith? Then you're going to be fighting a lot of people. You want to spend most of your life fighting something you believe for? Or do you want to spend your time reveling in it, basking in it, glowing in it, shimmering in it, shifting in it, anchoring in it, and then shining again, starting all over? Or do you want to fight? Do you want to always pick up a sword or whatever weapon it is to defend your right to do this or that? For the divine, that doesn't need you to fight for it at all. Holy moly, Batman.
Dude, that's profound.
Right? That's the road that he took. That's what he said when they went to him,
Oh,
because they didn't want him to go. They wanted to have him turn tail and run and take up a sword and fight the whole Roman army so that he wouldn't be crucified. But that's friendship. But Joshua said, no, put the swords down. I'm going to go with them. I know what I was called to do. I tapped in. I had a seat. I had a seat at the place of my soul. That seat was his when he went into the desert. So supposedly it was a desert, and he argued with his ego. The higher beingness and ego, I would have loved to be on a grain of sand, listening to that conversation between God, the divine, and Joshua. The words don't do it, Glory. To feel that vibration. And the higher being that wasn't trying to win out anything said, we came to do this. Pause and be quiet. To the ego. It's going to happen regardless. There was a purpose. There's an infinite plan, because this that I do, you can do, and more of it you can do. I'm showing you how to wield your energy. I'm showing you how. Think about this. The divine just said how we look at how we look at aliens and extraterrestrials. Some are looking at us the same way. Some are looking at us the same way. They're looking out at us, thinking on their planet, whatever their possibility of a playground that they're playing on, they're looking out at us, looking at us like we must be aliens. Holy moly, Batman, when you flip it, I'm sorry, I have to pause for a minute.
that's okay. I have to get my Instagram back up. And as we pause, I have a couple of spaces coming up for you guys. And I'm going to go ahead and play a couple of promos for you so you guys can be aware of the spaces that are coming up. These are going to be wonderful, holistic-based spaces. One of them is going to be a Middle Earth guided meditation journey that I will be doing live tomorrow at 5:55 p.m. Eastern. And then I also, this coming up Saturday, will be hosting a free donation-based heart chakra empowerment workshop via Zoom call. And this will be donation-based. So I'm gonna go ahead and play a couple promos for you guys. We're gonna allow her to take a little break. Feel free to hydrate yourself, grab some water, use the restroom if you need to, and we'll be back and get into it. Thank you guys. Much love to you all. Sacred Light presents a Middle Earth guided meditation journey, hosted by Marcus Christolight and special guest Shauna Lee, the multidimensional muse. See you then, live on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Ashe.
Discover the power of heart chakra healing. Join Marcus Christolight of Sacred Light, Healing and Wellness for a Transformative Heart Chakra Empowerment Flow Shop. On July 13th at 11 p.m. EST, we're gathering on Zoom to explore the depths of our heart chakras. What's in store? We'll delve into understanding blockages and learn how to balance your heart chakra using food, crystals, and healing practices. Plus, there's dedicated journaling time to help you identify and reflect on your own heart chakra blocks. And here's the kicker. Marcus will guide you through a meditation to support your balancing process. It's all about creating a sacred space for healing and growth. Best part, this empowering flow shop is donation-based. Sign up at sacredlight33.as.me or hit the link in our bio. Got questions? Slide into our DMs. Unlock your heart. Embrace your journey. Join us and feel the love flow.
All right, we are back. We are back. You are muted.
Sorry. I literally had like a coughing kind of just everything. Whew. So I had to burn some sage, you know.
Go release.
So, yeah. Whoever I was releasing for, whether just, it might have been me, myself, but it was for somebody else. And it's like, I don't mind doing that. But, you know, sometimes this is not the place to release it. Do you know what I mean? It's like, but for whatever reason, I surrender it. So I just had to take a moment. You know, it's, you know, I know it can be a lot to hear that. It kind of shakes what the divine is telling me. It shook somebody's faith because what they believed isn't necessarily what they believe now. And it's just about growth and expansion. That's all. You can take what resonates with you. It doesn't mean that you have to stop being whatever religious affiliation that you are in. It just means that something has opened in you to give you a new view of what you've been just doing by every day, the same thing every day, and you just do it every day, and you never thought much about it. You never thought to go deep. Right? And it's okay. It's going to change the way you think. It's going to change the way you feel, but it's not going to change the way you feel about others. It's about how you feel within. For me, all of this is coming. All of this that I'm learning now is just confirmation of the fact that I moved. The fact that I had questions as a young Baptist little girl, questioning the Bibles and adults' way of it being dogmatically thrown in front of me, and I had to believe it. I was allowed through my mother. She was a single parent. She didn't have anyone in opposition to her. You know, there was no, she got divorced, and there was no man in the house that headed up religion, so to speak. So we could view it a little bit differently, right? So I could ask the questions, and I had the opportunity at that time to say, well, this Jesus thing, and that's literally the way I went. Wait a minute. So God so loved the world, and then after God created us, then God hated us so much that he told us he was sinners and that we had to work our way back to him. But we had to do that our whole life here. And then when we died, we get to know if we were going to go to heaven or hell. And that's another thing they call my mother on. They go, you know what, we can't have her at Sunday school.
Oh boy.
Right? I always just believed, which for me works as Jesus consciousness. Right? Take what resonates and leave what doesn't. It's about how we look at it. And if someone got really shook up, their throat chakra is really opening up to the point where I literally, the coughing was so bad that I almost felt like I was going to throw up. So you're going through something, and I'm here. Marcus is here. DM us if you've got questions. Right? You're not in this alone.
Definitely.
Number one, the divine moves in, through, and as you. Even if you don't believe it, the divine is moving in, through, and as you. And there will always be an answer for you. There will always be someone to help you move through the process. But you have to tell us what your process is. And you have to be honest, not honest with us, but honest first with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have to decide how deep you're going to go. See, hold on a second. What would I want to say? It's you decide how deep you want to go. And these people were deciding what questions to ask Ra. But he was telling them, sometimes they would say, how can we say this? And Ra would say, I am Ra. I can't tell you how to say it. I can tell you if I can answer it for you. And then you can decide if you want to redirect the question. Because Ra said, I have to honor your free will. So when you take what resonates, you are honoring your free will by taking what you can literally use in your actual form life, and everything else pushed to the side. If it's meant to be in your perspective for the next part of your story, it will show up again. Whatever you're going through right now, that was powerful. And know that you can contact Marcus or myself, DM us. But know that when you come, you have to be open to yourself. All right. Thank you, and thank you. So where were we?
Before we continue, I just remembered an experience that I had. So back in 2015, I was about 19 at that time. And this was like fresh into my spiritual awakening, so to say. And I began channeling in this time period of my life when I first started awakening. And I was going through an experience. I had a very good friend of mine at the time named John, and he was already a Reiki master. He knew a bunch of yoga teachers. He knew about breath work and the chakras and all that stuff. And he basically became like the main person I started learning all of this from in the beginning of my travel of self-awakening. And the thing is that an other aspect of himself, his past self, was heavily programmed to dogmatic Christianity. So there was a battle, and you'd see this battle get played out every so often between his old programming and his newer programming of self-awareness, the spirituality and the dogmatic religion kind of battling each other. And what happened is, as I spent time with him, you know, there would be those periods where that dogmatic structuring would come up and it would get projected onto me. And it got to a point where pretty much he started demonizing like Egyptian guides, pretty much saying that they're all like demonic, fallen angels, you know, Jesus is the only way and all that stuff. And when that hit me in a very very disturbed way inside that didn't feel resonant. And it made me go home, and it didn't make me feel like I needed to, you know, attack him, create backlash, or do anything negative. It just made me, when I went home, to go within myself, get answers from source through my own self about who Jesus really is in relation to me and humanity.
Right.
And I went into meditation. I asked the question and got still. And what I do when I was in my beginning days of channeling is I would ask the question, and then I would sit and meditate, and then I would basically release all expectations and anything else that would cloud the clear channel of stillness. So what came through me was, number one, that Jesus was basically nothing more and nothing less than a soul level brother to all of us as equals. And then what also came through was that I'm part of the same council as him on a soul level. And when I came into that awareness, it took me a long time to really accept that. Because, you know, we live in a world where it's like, we've spoken on it, you know, like, you know, only Jesus can be of that type of energy or of that type of vibration and stuff like that. But really, there's a lot of us. There's a few of us here on this planet that embody a 33 vibration, or embody, you know, a Christ conscious embodiment to some type of degree. And when that came through me, it just like really clarified a lot of things that I already intuitively knew, but definitely solidified it. And with that, I was able to start becoming a lot closer to Yeshua in his spirit form when it came to channeling and receiving guidance through him. And then also, what had came through, because I also got led to Gnostic teachings, Gnostic Christianity, which is the original and purest form of Christianity without the dogmatic structuring. And when I came across that, it's like a deep download that's coming through right now.
May I ask you something? I see because I'm following your Instagram, and Be Present, Present Love says 2015, she GHGH, and then she said YT 19 channeling. What is she saying? Because I guess it's your page, so you might know what she means, or he or she means on it.
No, I don't know what that means.
Okay.
But to finish up that experience, so I gotten a download about, you know, how, okay, so it's basically a little bit about the Earth timeline. Mm-hmm. And the information I got about the Earth timeline was, you know, there was a period where things were very wide open, as in collective vibration field was wide open to the higher fields. So when that was happening, we were in a world that was very, very peaceful and very, very connected energetically and spiritually. This is why, for a period, we were able, and when I say we, I mean the human beings that were here, our ancestors, some of us on the soul level that were here, we were able to be in tune with the nature and the elements and with our higher guides on how to build these amazing structures that have been here for thousands of years. And that was due to where we were at in our collective vibratory field. And then as different corruptions started coming throughout time, and there's many different ways that corruptions have taken place. I'm not going to get into all that, but those corruptions taking place, it ended up tilting the balance scale here in this existence of this plane. And when that started tilting, it was starting to get consumed by the dark aspects of the duality. So when that started coming to place more and more, that's when we started seeing different galactic starseed beings, different guides, different quote unquote ascended masters descending into this plane, such as Yeshua, such as Moses, and more. And when they had came to bring back the tilt to the balance. And what also I received was that, keep in mind, this is all from a download and from a pure channeling that I received in 2015. And you guys can take it or leave it. And what I'd also received was that in order, and I think you've actually read it in a different way communicated in the book, in order for all of us now, starseeds, galactic warriors, and voyagers of the cosmos that descended into this three-dimensional earth plane, in order for us to be able to navigate it and have the clarity and awareness, and also be able to have the symbolism and the reminders to remind us of who we are, different figures such as Yeshua and Moses and others came down before us and sacrificed theirself into the flesh so that they may plant seeds and leave symbolic reminders for us as we come now and throughout time into this plane. And when I received that, wow, it gave me so much peace within, like so much peace. And then I started getting guided to galactic history, earth history. I started learning about different galactic beings, different ancestral beings, and it just all started coming to me naturally from the guidance of Yeshua and other beings after I started having those realizations. But yeah, I just wanted to share that because that remembrance came through just now. And with everything that we've been talking about, it's just so amazing how we can reflect on parts of our life where we may have gotten a piece or a fragment of this conscious information that we're examining right now. And then seeing it come back now tenfold, it's like, geez, wow. How divine.
Right? Yeah. And to think about it, these masters that have come in, and imparted this wisdom, this understanding. We have it in book form. We have it in. You can have workshops on it. You could go to libraries. They're just an infinite manner of how we can learn. There's some of us that don't channel. There's some of us that don't do light language, but there are some of us that have other gifts and other skills that open up for us to move through the consciousness and serve, if we choose to serve. What blew my mind was through Ra and through another gentleman that's on YouTube helping me to understand a lot of Ra, because I believe that the divine channels through him so that we can understand these books, these manuscripts that Ra is channeling through. This gentleman, his name is Aaron Abke. You could check him out. But what I learned is that our higher beings, and I said this last week, or in part one, our higher beings they've come here to have a free will choice. That blew my mind, because at first I just got comfortable understanding that I'm this higher being with this form body, with this mind, and I have free will. But then you throw into the mix that my higher being came here to make a polarity choice. The positive polarity or the negative polarity. And then little old me said to my higher being when I was meditating, okay, what can I do to help? I threw myself in the mix and said, okay, shit, it's not about me. It's not about just me. It's about my higher being. What can I do? How can I do? How can I serve? What do you need? You need to see both higher polarity and lower polarity. Well, you're getting a lot of that from my life, because I'm not going to tell you I've been just a little perfect person and on the scale of upper polarity. Hell to the no. So my higher being has got a lot of information. What is this? Blah, blah, what? Okay, hold on. Love how the factual comes full circle. Would love to hear that after. Aaron has been instrumental. Yeah. We've got all these. The divine wants to give me the word, because we've been calling them guru or spiritual instructors, but all these aspects of the divine, they're aspects. Marcus is an aspect, an integral aspect of who the divine is. He shows up as Marcus, or they show up as Marcus. They show up as me. They show up as Kristen. They show up as I think Kristen. Yeah, Kookaroo Creation. I believe her name is Christian. They show up as us. These are aspects of the divine in all manner of service. It's how much you want to serve. Do you want to serve yourself? Because guess what? Your higher being can learn what it means to serve only self at all cost of others. That's what service to self is. You want to know what service to self is? When you look at your political system right now, whether Democratic or Republican, some of them are service to self. They don't care who they walk over to get their laws in place. That's service to self. So you have an example. Just look at it. And then if you're talking about how if I was in office, I would do this. Well, is that service to self? Or is that service to others, knowing that self is always every need is always met, because it was met when you were born into this dimension. It's in you. You don't have to go outside of the world to gain it. That's what raw means. Service to self, the higher polarity, positive polarity, or negative. And there's a lot of entities, higher beings, that got stuck in that. Yeah, they play in that. You want to know what you want to know what you call an evil entity? Usually higher beings, what I learned is that those higher beings that play in the negative polarity, they don't take physical form anymore, because in physical form, if you are a higher being in this body form, I can see you. They don't want to be seen. So what they do is they become your consciousness of what you believe. You want to believe in a devil? They become that consciousness. You want to believe that you've got some evil entities chasing you and killing and hurting you and keeping you from doing things? They become that for you. But guess what? In order for them to climb the polarity, to merge back with the divine, by 6th density polarity, they have to embark on, guess what? Love, unconditional love, because they have to eventually, at some point in time, merge back with the divine. Why? Because they are an aspect of the divine. They are an expression of the divine that has to merge back with itself. When I knew that, then I knew I wasn't doing a fight. If you got that higher being that loves the lower polarities and always loves to do self first, I'm not going to argue with you. Your higher being came in to do that, and your form body concurred with it, and that's your story. This is what Ra is telling you. They will not supersede your free will. And these higher beings that are self-service in the lower polarity, they know that they cannot supersede your free will. How do they do that? They're not going to talk to you. They're going to influence you through your ego.
Yeah. Propaganda.
And your action is your yes to doing what they want to do. You go, well, I didn't give them permission to do that. Well, if your ego is taking action for service to self in any area of your life that is not making sure that other people are okay while you're doing you, then you're giving them permission.
Yup.
When I found that out, it was like, all right, I know that my higher being has to seek both the higher and lower polarity, because that's contrast, and that's what helps grow us, expand us, helps us to shift and evolve as part of the story. It's what the divine is seeking in itself in form. But I know I sit with my higher being and say, oh yeah, you felt that? I'm going to tell you how I feel about it. It didn't feel good to me to use somebody else to get to that. I have to go apologize. Even if they might have been wrong about how they presented themselves to me, I still have to go apologize, because I can't leave the story like that, whatever the story was. I remember my mom, and I truly understand it as an adult, 2 wrongs don't make right. If anything I can teach my higher being is, the ego might want to go out there and slap somebody because they called me X, Y, and Z. But 2 wrongs just don't make it right. And the law of cause and effect will affect me before it affects somebody else. Because if I'm putting out a negative vibe, even if it's towards somebody who's done some negative to me, the universe says, well, let's deal with you first. I got them already.
It's a snowball effect.
Snowball effect. But now I get it. This is what Ra is saying. I got to honor your free will. I tried it 11,000 years ago. What my information that I brought you was used for the negative polarity. We had to leave. They walked with humankind. They walked together on this earth 11,000 years ago. And then they said, "Oh, we can't step foot on your planet. We can still talk to you. We've got to honor the people who want to be in the negative polarity, who want to think that we're coming to do them a dirty, that we're coming to take over their world and take away all their rights and blah blah blah." Because why? Because free will says they can think that, they can feel that. They can be that. Why? Because the divine says, I am moving in, through, and as you. And it's an experience to me. I don't see it as a negative or a positive, but you can feel it. But know this, the law, the universal laws that I put in place are going to act accordingly. You can't bargain with them. You can't say, hey, karma, do this to this person. Karma ain't listening to you. Even if that person has done you a dirty, karma says, I got them. Let's talk about you.
Can you imagine if it worked that way? That would be so entangled. If everybody was just able to be like, all right, I'm going to go ahead and place karma on you. Now I'll place it on you and you. Like, whoa,
and you,
that'd be crazy.
For just looking at somebody the wrong way. Or just being somebody that you just didn't like.
Right.
That's not how. I love the way Michael Beckwith speaks about karma. Karma is a drop-off point for your very self. It shows you how if life keeps coming up at you, keeps hitting you in the face karmically, it's asking you, what do you want to do next? You created this. What do you want to do next? And if you keep resisting it, karma keeps coming back saying, I'm still here.
I'm still here. I got my feet up on the table.
Yep. I'm still here. And each time karma comes back, it comes back a little bit deeper, a little bit harder. And you keep saying, why me? Why me? Well, why you? Because you created it. Cause of law and effect says what you put out, it's got to give it back to you. Even if you're doing something that somebody else did to you and they called you a bitch and then you called them a bitch, and then karma opens the door for somebody else to call you a bitch, and you don't like the bitchy now. You have to deal with that. You have to go in, you have to go deep, and you have to go, oh shit, I got to go in and find out how me and our higher being can talk about this, because I want to opt out of the story. Your ego doesn't know to tell you that you can opt out of the story, because all it's focused on doing is protecting you. And all it knows how to do to protect you is to go into your story in the past and bring up something that's familiar so that you can do it over again. Well, when you're doing it over again, like Ross says, when you're doing it over again, you're going to get the same result. What does therapists and psychiatrists say that is? That's the first sign of being crazy. If you keep applying the same principle to the same problem and expecting a different result. I think scientists actually got it from Ra or Bashar. They're all saying the same thing. Abraham Hicks, come on. They're all saying the same thing. It's like, come on. You think karma is your knight in shining armor, or a bitch who's out there to protect you and stand in front of you? No. Ross says, you know, what you put in, you get out.
Welcome, Bella Bev. Glad you're able to tap in while you're working. It's a beautiful flow. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, going back to the beginning of what you were saying, you know, talking about basically how these negative polarity beings, they can't exactly do anything directly to us unless we give our consent, right?
Right.
So, you know, they kind of just like implant these different illusionary, manipulative tactics that they have. And a great example is the debt system. All right. So we're going to talk about the debt system for a moment. You know, a lot of times when we get in debt, you know, we start blaming the government, we start blaming the system, we start doing all this blaming and all this other stuff. But when it really comes down to it on a microscopic universal level, it's really on your own self.
Yeah.
Because no beings, no people in the government, the Federal Reserve, the global elites, quote unquote, whatever you want to call them, none of them literally made you get a credit card and max it out. That's a free will
Done
choice.
that before.
It's a free will choice that you make your own self. Even if you weren't fully aware of what could have came with it, or if you weren't aware of what type of debt would have came with it, or any of that stuff, it's besides the point. The point is, in the universe where everything is literal, based on your choices energetically and of your free will, you chose out of your free will to go get a credit card, to go swipe it and max it out, and then proceed to place yourself into debt. So that's just a prime example in our everyday human life of how they don't do things directly to us. It's that they set up spaces where we may unconsciously be giving our free will and consent due to the things that we're accepting into our life. So just think about those type of things. It's just something to give you guys a little bit of food for the mind.
Okay, another food for the thought. Think of it this way. You get people all the time sending you posts, and you just think, oh, I'm gonna do this, right? It sounds like it's the truth, and it's for the greater good of everyone. And then you forward it on, right? You don't do the due diligence to kind of do a little bit of work to find out what you're putting your power behind, what you're giving your free will to, right? But that's giving permission. It's giving permission. When you constantly talk about the problems all the time, over and over and over again, literally, whether you're talking about them to friends, whether you're retweeting or reposting the problem, you're not in the vibration of a possibility of an answer, but you're constantly in that vibration of the problem. You're giving permission for the problem to still exist and grow and expand. And guess what? Those lower densities, those are lower polarities. That is lower energy. And what whoever you consider that they are, they know that they need your energy to boost them. So if you're staying in the energy of the problem, it's because you feel you want to, everybody to know. I need everybody to know because I want them to know so that they can, move away from this. But if everybody knows and they're staying and they're retweeting and reposting in the negative, then what's growing? Not the truth to change, not the infinite possibility of change, just the knowing that there's still a problem. Well, these entities that like to stay in the lower realms because they like lack, and the best one, control. When the entities came into play, they said, I want to play control. And then other entities says, well, you're going to have somebody to control, so I'll be the ones that you control. And so the game keeps getting played in the playground, and the playground keeps getting fucking bigger. But see, your ego doesn't know that you can opt out. So it doesn't know to give you that information, but your higher being knows that you can opt out. But your higher being is playing in the realm of the lower, or the lower polarity. So you don't really know. Right? But if you're playing with someone that you see, your higher being says, oh, I see them. Because your higher being can see other higher beings that are playing in that realm, that are playing control. And your higher being says, hold up. You don't want to, your higher being will say, do you want to play there? It'll let you see. Let me see that which I cannot see with my physical eyes. Let me see it with my spiritual eyes. And your higher being will come online and say, see this? This person is lying to you. See this? This person is playing in the playground, but she's not playing, or he's not playing fair, because he's taking your words and twisting them. Mm-hmm. Or he's doing whatever, spells on you. Or leading you down he's not really helping you. He's hindering you. She's not really helping you. She's hindering you. All these things become seen. That's why higher beings that like the lower polarities, they don't like to reincarnate that much. They'd rather be consciousnesses that become your situations or your circumstances. They become those, so that you could, if you have a circumstance where it's lack and now you've got debt, they become the debt that you see. They become that form. They play in that arena. That way, they don't really get seen that they're pushing manipulation. But guess what? These higher beings, or entities, as you want to call them, some people call them bad spirits, bad juju or whatever. They don't care what they're called. If you're giving them the action, and the action is, if you're fearing them, you're giving them permission. If you go out and you buy what is that called, an evil eye for protection, that means you believe that you need protection from people doing evil shit to you. They're going to be that consciousness to give you that aspect of it. That's because that's where you're putting all your power to. That's what Ra is talking about.
You don't see me with an evil eye.
No.
Mm-mm.
I came in sovereign and protected. Now, true enough, I'm not going to tell you I haven't been afraid. Right now, I'm working on heights. Doesn't mean I'm going to go step on top of the Empire State Building and try to pretend that I'm not afraid, because there's some parts of us that our higher being says, all right, the reason why you is to know that you might fall, because that's part of the reality that we live in, right? Everybody has a little something that's part of our form life. Fear isn't bad. It is a form. Fear becomes a form that you bump up against. You feel it. You move through it. You surrender it. You let it go, and then you move on. Doesn't mean that you're going to stop having fear about something. It means that you now put it in place for something else, and now you live. You start living a little bit more of life, right? That's all Ra is saying. That's all Abraham Hicks is saying. Abraham Hicks talks about the positive polarity. They don't deny that there is a negative polarity. All they're telling you is not to stay in the negative polarity too long. Right?
Mm, mm, mm.
Mm-mm-mm.
Golly. Oh, jeez. Mm. This raw material is
It's sweet.
wow.
It's sweet. I'm telling you.
I thought the Bible was good. I thought the Egyptian Book of the Dead was good. I thought, holy smokes, man! Like, whoa,
Yeah.
Phew.
And they're 5 books. I got book 3 on in my shopping cart already. So
Mm.
all I can say is there's a plethora of information that is being given to you. You take what resonates so that it grows you, it expands you. Think of yourself as this ginormous puzzle piece. And sometimes your puzzle pieces are come up for review. Sometimes they don't fit necessarily anymore because you've grown and expanded. Now you have to reconfigure it. Sometimes the whole puzzle piece base shifts, and now you've got to alchemize the puzzle pieces to fit. More learning, more wisdom, more understanding. Sometimes you open up a new gift and you grow with it, you expand with it. You say, if you ask that embodying question, where is it going to take me now? And you're just like that little kid that gets dressed, sits at the kitchen table, eats food really fast, and this says, Mom, Dad, I'm going outside. Okay, be home before the street lights come on. And you're outside the whole day, exploring your neighborhood, being with your friends, creating stuff, tearing down, sand castles, building them even bigger, figuring out how you can make it stay to the next day. Right? Some kids are talking to trees and walking through the beach with trying to figure out how to get from one spot to the other spot without having to we don't have a boat. How are we going to get out to that island? And all of a sudden they kick off their shoes and get in their skivvies and they swim across. No, they don't think about swimsuits or anything. They're just in their little tidy whities.
They're superhero underwear.
Superhero underwear, yeah. Some of them got their capes on. And they're just creating. And then they do it over again the next day. And it's new.
Yeah.
For children, it never gets old. And that's what Ra, and that's what Bashar, and that's what Abraham Hicks and all these, and the ascended masters and your guides are backing you for. Did you know that your spirit cannot feel your body? It goes in to a door before you get in the door. It fills a room. If Marcus and I were in the same room, our consciousnesses would touch each other. Our consciousnesses would not only touch each other, but it would touch the quantum field. That's how massive our spirit, our higher beings are. Tuned in, tapped in, and turned on. And I gotta say, I gotta go now. But I don't want to. I gotta answer a couple of phone calls and texts because, some people are just determined, but all for a good reason, right?
Yeah.
But I have to thank you. My throat chakra was open. and somebody else has got open, all they got to do is if they need more help understanding us, you know where we are.
You know where we are. That's right.
Coco Creation says insanity. That's what it would seem like to others. And actually, that's what it would seem like to yourself when you're first coming online and everything is, just coming in and filling you up, and it's not making too much sense because your ego is trying to make a straight line and your higher being is trying to show you the spiral.
Yeah. And you're deprogramming and reprogramming.
Yeah. And then guess what? You deprogram and you reprogram, and then guess what? Learning requires that you deprogram some more and learn and put something else in its place.
Yeah.
That's growth and expansion. That's evolution. Matter of fact, it baffles the scientists that the universe is still creating itself. The divine is still creating, because the universe is still creating itself. And it baffles the scientists because they're human. They expect to, at some point, we have to know where it ends so that we can control it.
Yeah.
Ongoing evolution, revolution, I don't know. If you want to say that, I would say evolution and revelation, but revolution means that you're maybe, could we say that? How could we say revolution in the positive polarity?
Revolution. What's the definition of revolution? Revolution.
Because the divine is saying that it can be a positive polarity in starting something new, and seeing it fulfilled, maybe. The persistent performance of making something to its resolve, maybe.
I could see where revolution could apply here. It says basically, well, in this context, they say overthrowing in favor of a new system. But I mean, you could put it in a context of basically breaking down, what's old into what's new.
Right. Yeah.
What is evolution? The actual meaning of evolution, then?
I think
evolution is just straight up growth, like just growth without the breaking down.
Evolution is, it keeps evolving into more. But I think evolution also includes change.
Yeah, so evolution is just basically the continuous evolving or changing of form. Where revolution is kind of like breaking down something that's already in place to then create a new in that space. That's interesting.
So I wrote something that I want to close with. I wrote down here, it's the law of one, and then I have hyphen raw. And I believe this is what I wrote because I had read that Raw was stating this in one of the questions, but I didn't put the page number. It says, consider, if you will, the universe is infinite. This has yet to be proven or disproven, but we can assure you that there is no end to yourselves, your understanding, what you would call your journey or seeking, or your perception of creation. You are everything, every being, every emotion, every event, every situation. You are unity. You are infinity. You are love, light, and light, love. This is the law of one. You're everything all at once and not at all. And you kind of go, what? But you are. You are spirit form. You are spirit, you are body, and you are mind all at once. And not at all. Because if you get this, if you choose not to exist, what happens? If that becomes your intention and you put your energy behind it, imagine what happens. Imagine. That's the divine wanted me to say that. Imagine what would happen. I think John Lennon sang that song, Imagine. Go back and listen to his lyrics. Matter of fact, I'm going to go listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Kaya Mac.
7/7, that's right. Yeah, happy 7/7 to everybody. It's a beautiful
7/7.
energetic portal today.
I think I went through some portals.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I can't wait for episode 11.
Episode 11 this Wednesday.
This Wednesday.
10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. You guys know where to find us. Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
Yes, yes, yes.
And as we wrap up, Sandee, I believe you got a couple of things coming up. So I'm going to go ahead and do something for you here. I'm going to pull it up. And I'm going to let you explain a little bit about what you got coming up. The first one you have.
Yes. This Friday, Soul Conversations, the podcast, we're going to have a beautiful young lady by the name of Gina G. She is an author. And, Soul Conversations, the podcast is about allowing people to explain their journey, their awakening journey, from who they were to who they believe they are now, and the application of what they went through, their triggers, their traumas, their life story, and it's as if we were in the backyard and two best friends talking and having an open forum and knowing that they're free to explain their journey. Mm-hmm. Right? I don't even know how many episodes I have in Soul Conversations with Sandra, but you guys join us Friday, 7/12/24, and it's 11:30 a.m. Pacific time, and that will be, I believe it will be 2:30 Eastern Standard Time and 1:30 Central Time.
Yep.
Gina J, she's gonna be in the house, and this is my newest baby that the divine said I got to do this. I put it on a back burner, and the divine, like I told you, the divine will keep bringing it around until I put it on the front burner. It's called Soul Talk with Sandee M. It's about how you bring your gifts and your talents and your skills, and how you bring them in to your everyday life. And I'm going to tell you, what do we have? It's Saturday the 8th is going to be
13th.
the maiden voyage. All right.
The 13th.
Pardon?
July
wait.
13th.
Did I say July 13th, Saturday? I'm trying to go backwards in my dates. We don't want to go backwards. We want to go forward. Okay. And it's talking about how to use your gifts, your talents in your everyday life. We were meant to live in this form life, and we were meant to bring we were meant to merge. We are triune beings living in this form life, and we were meant to use everything for our highest good. So it's about tapping into that. Sit with us for an hour. You get to ask questions. You get to bring the divine is saying you get to bring you to the forefront and ask an embodying question. So this is the maiden voyage. Thank you so much. And it's right there. Episode 1 airing July 13th. Thank you.
That's right. And then last reminders again, I showed you guys during our little break at the hour. Coming up tomorrow, I got 2 things going on live actually. At noon Eastern, I'll be doing the Shungite Water 101 demonstration for all of you guys. So you guys can learn on how to make your own Shungite water at home, as there are just so many benefits to that. You guys will have to tap in tomorrow. If you can't tap in tomorrow, you know where it'll be. It'll be on the YouTube, Facebook, Instagram to watch at any time. And then also later on that day at 5:55 p.m. Eastern, I will be doing another collaborative guided meditation journey with Shauna Lee, the multidimensional muse, and she'll be sharing her beautiful light language as I do the guided meditation. And this one will be Middle Earth themed. So if you're someone that likes fairies, dragons, gnomes, and other things like that, we'll be tapping into that type of energy during the meditation tomorrow. And then Saturday, I have a heart chakra workshop on Zoom, free donation based. And you guys can just reach out to me if you would like the Zoom link for that. It's at 1:11 p.m. Eastern, about 2 hours long. We'll be going in depth about the heart chakra. You'll get to learn how to identify blocks in your heart chakra, how they manifest, and then we'll be able to journal together and share. And I'll be doing a guided meditation to help you be able to release and clear out your heart chakra. And you'll also learn many different tools on how you can help keep that balance throughout your everyday life in your own conscious power. So that is what is going to be coming up. So thank you guys again for tapping in and joining us for this beautiful episode 10 of Ascending Beyond Limitations, the Raw Material Law of One. We'll be back Wednesday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern.
I can't wait. I'm so excited.
I can't hide it.
I'm about to lose my mind because I like it. Oh
man, somebody help me find it.
Anyway,
I'm about to have karaoke.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get the karaoke machine.
Oh boy, how would you guys like that karaoke night?
Karaoke night. We're gonna have to do one of those special just for you guys, right? Anyway, but everyone have a blessed rest of your Sunday evening. Go have a exciting thought. Discern it. If it's after you discerned it, it's for your highest and greatest good. Go create it. You're a master creator. Tap into that cosmic magic in you.
That's right.
Okay. One love. Law of one. This is law of love. Unconditional love.
Wholeness, balanced love, everybody. Have a blessed and beautiful night or day, wherever you're at.
Wherever you're at. It could be, matter of fact, it could be, I think, Monday morning in Australia.
Yep.
Enjoy. One love. Peace.
One love.